that in the case of a minor irrigation tank command area, there would be enough of groundwater available when the tank is having some water stored. If supposing there is even half full, even if the tank is half full, there would be adequate recharge to water table on the downstream side of the tank in the entire command area. And the influence of such increased groundwater recharge would be felt for a distance of about 1 or 2 kilometers, depending upon the topography and the size of the tank and the terrain in the command area. Now, in the case of minor irrigation tank, the command area farmers are having this advantage and facility to irrigate additional crops out of groundwater, what we call it as conjunctive utilization of groundwater with surface water. Even though the tank storage is not appreciable, still they can leave the water through the sluice to the extent water is available and supplement it through pumping groundwater from the open dug wells as well as the bore wells in the command area. In the catchment area of the tank, that is the watershed area, we do not have this facility of adequate groundwater. So therefore, we have to now construct several works in order to see that the groundwater availability in the upper areas, in the catchment areas near the ridge boundaries may have adequate groundwater in the dug wells there. As we have already discussed, one method of making this groundwater available is through recharge through percolation tanks, and especially the mini percolation tanks which are there already according to the concept. The command area under the mini percolation tank, or in other words, the downstream area under the mini percolation tank would have enough of groundwater recharge, something like the recharge that happens in a minor irrigation tank. So in all these activities, we ensure that the facilities of groundwater that are already available in the eye cut of the tank are made possible in the catchment area of the tank as well. So the watershed development should lead to giving facilities of groundwater in the catchment area of a tank similar to that of the facilities available in the eye cut area of the tank. Now we will go through one sketch to illustrate how this can be done. This is the minor irrigation tank in cross section, and this is the FTL, full tank level of water stored in the tank. And supposing this is the ground level, and in the eye cut, that is the command area of the tank, we have a dug well. These are all figuratively represented. When there is no water in the tank, the groundwater in the well would be at a lower level. When the tank gets its water, even 1/4 full or half full, there would be recharge to the water table due to percolation and the seepage, and the water table level will increase from this low level to a very high level, that is at a shallow depth of 2 meters below ground level we will be able to get the water table. In some wells we see the water table coming right up to ground level, and in some other cases the water overflowing the wells in the command area. So this is possible because there is a storage here, there is a deep percolation and the seepage water recharging the water table and the water table coming up. Therefore, the whole phenomenon occurs on account of impounding the storage and spreading the stored water in the submersion area, and that results in recharging the water table. If supposing such a similar condition can be brought in the catchment area in the upland areas, we will be able to achieve the same result of increasing the water table level from a lower level to a higher level. This is what has happened already wherever such mini percolation tanks were constructed. We will now go through the aspect of desilting the tank bed of minor irrigation tanks. There is a common feeling that when watershed development works are executed in the catchment area of the tank, there would be reduction in inflow into the tank, and to that extent the tank command suffers for want of water. Now let us see how far this would be valid, and if it is valid, to what extent. For the purpose of understanding the whole problem, we can divide the tank or the various tanks into broadly three categories. The first category is where there is adequate yield in the catchment and yield more than what the tank needs. That means there is surplus yield in the catchment area of the tank, and in such a case, even if the watershed development works such as mini percolation tank and various other structures are constructed, there won't be any adverse impact with regard to the flows into the tank. That is because there is surplus yield in the catchment area. So with regard to such tanks, there is no problem with regard to the yield getting reduced. Now a second category of the tank would be that where the yield is just sufficient for the tank's requirements. When the yield is just sufficient for the tank requirement, if any interception in the flow to the tank is done by way of watershed development works such as mini percolation tanks, sunken gully pits, and bigger percolation tanks, and cross bunding or gully control works or field bunds and things like that, there will be reduction in yield to the tank, and such reduction certainly will interfere with the irrigation pattern in the command area. Now in such a case, let us examine whether the tank is already silted to some extent. For example, many of the tanks were constructed several decades back and some of them several centuries back, and all such tanks have got silted up. That means they don't have the same storage as was earlier. Supposing earlier the storage was, live storage was about 20 million cubic feet, the live storage would have got reduced to 10 million cubic feet. That means even if the yield is reduced by means of these watershed development works, still there will be adequate flow into the tank to fill the tank. So therefore, this type of silted tanks, there is no problem with regard to the yield. Even though if it is exploited or yield is utilized in the various watershed development works, the tank will not suffer because it has already got silted up to a certain extent, and the live storage in the tank will easily get filled up with the yield that is coming from the basin. That is the second category. Now the third category is the tank is not silted up and there is interception in the flows through watershed development works. So in such a case, there will be certainly an adverse impact with regard to utilization of water in the command of the tank. Now in such a case, a policy decision has got to be taken with regard to how much of water can be intercepted in the catchment area, that is the watershed, and what is the upper limit for this. Sometime back this was considered during 1980s when I was Chief Engineer Minor Irrigation, and we thought that a 25% utilization of the yield in the catchment for the purpose of watershed development works would be all right, which means 75% of the yield goes into the tank and it gets reduced only to the extent of 25%. To that extent, certainly the tank ICAT gets affected. But here we have to consider two issues of equity. One is the upper reach farmers, they are relatively poor. That is the catchment area farmers who are having lands in the ridge boundaries and uplands. They are relatively poorer when compared to the command area farmers who are having wetlands. And the equity is that some water from the catchment area will also have to be apportioned for these relatively poor farmers living in the upland areas. So that becomes an equity issue of social nature, where certain quantity will have to be used for the benefit of the underprivileged or poorly placed farmers when compared to better placed farmers in the command area. The second issue is, how is this tank getting water at all? It is from the catchment area. So the farmers who own the lands in the catchment area, they can be classified as givers of the water. They can be classified as people who contribute to the water of the tank, because the runoff from their lands only will have to reach the tank. So therefore they can be classified as givers of water. And for the users of water are farmers for on the downstream side of the tank in the ICAT area, and they are the users. So the giver should have some sort of a eligibility, or we may call it also some sort of a right to utilize some portion of his water in his fields. So that way also, when you consider that the giver also should have some share of water to be utilized in his field, then this 25% share of water coming from the catchment area would be perhaps a just solution. Now the entire quantity of water, supposing it goes to the command area requirements, then the catchment area farmer is put to a disadvantage, in the sense he cannot use the water, he cannot have the facility of groundwater recharge, and he will not be able to use groundwater also, because the recharge devices will not be there, and therefore he will continue to be the loser. Now let us see whether the command area farmer loses anything. Now we thought about the conjunctive utilization of groundwater with surface water. In the command area, the farmers can have low cost dug wells, and they can pump the groundwater from the dug wells and supplement the surface water irrigation through groundwater, what we call it as conjunctive utilization of groundwater with surface water. They have this facility of using groundwater in the command area of the tank, whereas the farmers in the uplands, that is in the catchment area of the tank, that is the watershed, they don't have this facility of utilizing groundwater, because they just don't have groundwater in that area when there is no recharge there. So therefore, from the point of facility of irrigation for the upland areas, we require the water to be impounded in the various watershed development works to be used by the farmers there to pump groundwater and things like that. Even though the command area farmers are deprived their legitimate, or what we call a riparian right enjoyed earlier to the extent of 25%, still there is a solution how they can overcome that. That is through groundwater, and they have the facility of adequate recharge to groundwater, so they are not ultimately put to any loss or inconvenience. The only thing is they have to orient themselves to use the groundwater along with surface water. That is pertaining to the yields in the minor irrigation tanks. Now let us go to the another subject, that is desiltation of tank beds. This desiltation of tank beds is going on in a very intensive manner during the past 1 year, and during the Niru-Miru phase 4, this was given a topmost priority. There are a few technical issues which have got to be followed when such desilting is done. Let us now study why is desilting required. That is because the tank would have lost certain live storage. Live storage means the storage above the sluice level. So the bed of the tank above the sluice level got silted up to the extent of 5 feet or 10 feet, and therefore there is lesser storage in such tanks. When there is lesser storage, we would like to restore the storage back to its original position, and in order to do that we have to remove the silt to increase the live storage. If that is the case, then all the desiltation will have to be done above the live storage, that is above the sill level of the sluice. In many cases we find desiltation being done in the dead storage area, that is below the level of sluice. The silt desilting, that is excavation of silt, is being done in several cases. This would increase the dead storage level. Will that be useful for the crops? No, because it's a level lower than the sill level of the sluice. So this increased storage in the dead storage would not be of any use to the crops. It will not add to the storage. But then some farmers want excavation only in the dead storage area because the silt available there is highly fertile clay, and that clay only they want for the purpose of fertilizing their rain-fed lands. If it is to be done in the live storage area, there will be more of silt and coarse material like fine sand and things like that. The farmers don't prefer that. Now a situation arises now in the plea of desilting. We are increasing the dead storage area in such a scenario. If the farmers want the clayey soils very close to the tank bund and they want to excavate in the dead storage area, they can do out of their own, at their own cost, and convey it of course at their own cost. So there is no need for spending the funds under the government programs for such desiltation. But then another angle is being projected. A desiltation done below the dead storage level would be useful for increasing the recharge to groundwater. Therefore, it is not a waste. Even though it may not be useful for taking to the crops, for irrigating the crops, but still it would increase the percolation rate, it would increase the recharge to water table. Now here there seems to be a sort of a dichotomy. In a minor irrigation tank, we always ensure and see that we store the water effectively for purpose of surface water irrigation. We do not encourage loss of water and increase the loss of water through deep percolation. If it is intended as a percolation tank, that's a different thing. It will be all right to increase the deep percolation by such desilting. But if it were to be a minor irrigation tank, it's going against the principle of conserving the stored water for irrigation purposes. It has to be used for irrigation purposes, not for percolation purposes. And if it has to be for purpose of increasing deep percolation, there are methods for that. It's not the way how the pits are excavated. We can have a trench, and then that trench can be with a low cost, and it could increase the deep percolation much more effectively than the desiltation work that is being done in the dead storage area. So that portion of it we will deal with explaining the next diagram. Now there is an understanding from the villagers that any dead storage desiltation would also benefit the farmers for having water during the summer period, and also it would be useful for pisciculture. So therefore, even though it may not add to irrigation water, the water that is there below the sill level of the sluice would still be useful for the animals for drinking, will be useful for pisciculture, would also be useful for deep percolation. So therefore, there is a tendency among the farmers to prefer such excavation in the dead storage areas. If that be the case, it has to be done according to a program. It cannot be one pit here, one pit there, one pit there, like that. It has to be planned according to the requirement of the end use. It could be a circular pit with adequate depth in order to see that the evaporation losses are minimized, in order to see that greater quantity of water would be there throughout the summer period. So to minimize the evaporation losses, the depth has got to be increased, and it has got to be made with lesser surface area. That means it could be a circular section and with a greater depth. It should not be like pit here, pit there and all things like that, which will again increase the evaporation during summer, and the water will not be available throughout the summer period. So the purposes and end uses, when they are of this type, it has to be oriented towards that one, and it serves a purpose. Certainly then it can be classified as a work pertaining to pisciculture or providing water for animals, and it could still be done that manner in a technically designed, in a correctly designed manner. Then there are few versions about the recharge. The minor irrigation tank, if it is silted even to a depth of 5 feet or even 10 feet, some of the tanks which were constructed a few centuries back, they got silted up to 10 to 15 feet depth. And even in such silted tanks, when the tank receives half storage, we find in the command area of the tank the wells having adequate groundwater in spite of siltation. Many people think that a silted tank will not permit deep percolation and recharge to water table, and therefore there should be a device to increase the recharge. It is not required at all. If you see any one of the tanks executed in the 15th and 17th century, they are all working now, and when the tank is half full, we find the wells in the command area having adequate groundwater, and some of the wells even having groundwater up to ground level. So deep percolation takes place even in the case of silted tanks. That is because of the phenomenon called sedimentation transport. In this phenomenon, the silt material carried by the stream is deposited at various points according to the sedimentation transport theory, and in practice it works out like this. The coarser material like sand, fine sand, will get deposited in the upper reaches of the tank, in a wide area in the upper reaches of the tank, and in the middle reaches of the tank it is silt that gets deposited, that is coarser than clay, and the region very close to the tank bund, there the clay particles get deposited. So the method of sedimentation is impermeable strata very close to the tank bund and medium permeable strata at a distance away from the tank bund, and highly permeable strata at the farther distance from the tank bund. So even if the tank gets half full of water, the middle and the upper areas where the water is stored will permit for deep percolation, and that is the reason why we have groundwater in the command area, even in spite of heavy siltation occurring in the tank. Now let us see, in the case of percolation tanks, if it is silted up, if they are silted up during the past 10-20 years, these percolation tanks were constructed in large numbers. or some of the mine irrigation tanks are converted to percolation tanks, and this is being done in the case of small tanks in various Rayalaseema and Telangana districts. So in such cases, the manner in which deep percolation has got to be increased, let us study how economically it can be done. This is the ground level and original ground level, and this is the full tank level, and the revetment is like this, and this is the downstream side of the tank. The water storage is on this side, and it got silted up to this level, let us say. One way of increasing the recharge in this percolation tank is to remove the silt which is close to the tank bund section, because this silt will be mostly clay. That could be removed, but that's an expensive item of work to remove the entire silt content. Instead of that, we can achieve the same deep percolation and seepage by means of a trench excavated like this. The details of this trench are given in the guidelines approved and given by the Chief Engineer Minor Irrigation of Andhra Pradesh in 1986, and the diagram and details are there in that. To explain it briefly, this is just a trench with a stable slope, could be half to 1 or 1 to 1 depending upon the type of soil, and it can be excavated up to h by 2. Supposing h is the height of the bund, and supposing this is about 6 meters, height of the bund is 6 meters, then we can excavate up to 3 meters depth, not more than that. If the height of the bund is 10 meters, we can excavate up to 5 meter depth, h by 2. And when we excavate this trench like this, the bottom portion as well as the sides are available for percolation down here and seepage here. So the stored water here, when the water is stored here in the tank, the seepage is predominant through such a trench. This trench is excavated parallel to the bund at a particular distance, and that distance is usually 5 times h, which means suppose the height is 6 meters, this trench will be at a distance of 30 meters, 30, 5 into 6, and not closer than that. And this will be parallel to the bund, all along the bund. And a small trench like this would be having a greater percolation rate, because harder soils will be there and coarser soils will be there at the bottom and the sides. The excavated earth from such a trench can be dumped onto the tank bund to restore the TBL or to have a flatter slope on the downstream side, not on the upstream side but on the downstream side. Many of the tanks may need also some improvement in the bund section by way of raising the top level or having a flatter slope on the downstream side. So this earth will be useful for the purpose of strengthening the bund, and it should be used only for that purpose. Should not be deposited here. There is no need to fill this with any rubble or metal or any such thing, because in some cases I have seen people doing the filling of the trench with rubble. There is no need at all. It doesn't increase the deep percolation. On the other hand, it is costly to get rubble and then dump it here. Supposing it gets silted up, this also would get silted up over a period of another 10 years or 20 years. It may get silted up. Even in spite of siltation occurring at the bed at the bottom, still the seepage occurs on the sides. So this seepage water would ultimately recharge the water table. If the siltation here is more than 50% of the depth, then we have to remove such silt and deposit again onto the bund and restore it to the old section. So this is a simple device low cost work which increases the depercolation in a silted up percolation tank.